I'm a creature of habit.
Well, you want to kick it off?
Let's kick this off. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is Juneteenth, this Good Friday. It is the second round of the World Cup, and you are listening to Good Men Trying, where we encourage men. Take it away, Brett.
Good Men Trying is where we are trying to encourage men to show up as their best selves in all the relationships that matter most. So we're going to be talking about some of the things that we've learned through kind of our struggles, our past, our hard-earned wins, and hope that that translates to you guys. So if something does resonate, please like, share, repost, all of those things that we need people to do so that we can reach more ears, so that we can reach more eyeballs and continue to maybe help a little bit more.
That is all we're trying to do, is make an impact. And your help will get us to reach someone that we will not have otherwise reached. And I have confidence in you. So with that being said, there's a lot of good things that have happened in times past. The most important thing that happened this week, and we are, at least I am, a soccer fanatic. France played Senegal, and Messi played his hopefully his last World Cup, is now 6, and scored a hat trick. Woo! On a topic of confidence, there are no larger stars this month than Messi and Mbappe.
I'm going to use a Marlon phrase.
Please do.
Can I pressure test that statement?
First of all, I feel so seen. And yes, you can.
Thank you. I would argue that the most important thing that has happened this week is that the U.S. just won 2-0 in the World Cup match today.
That was important. However, not the most important thing by far.
This is spoken as a person who very casually watches soccer and is only really interested in USA.
Listen, we believe that Messi will go all the way. And if he somehow stumbles on his way, Mbappe will for sure carry the torch this season.
Mbappe, I only know because Alex went to a PSG soccer camp in Frisco and became obsessed with Mbappe, and we had to buy him a full kit.
Dress. Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. It required.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the best display of confidence I think I have ever seen from a 27-year-old by the name of Mbappe.
Okay.
I'm going to show you this clip. They're playing Senegal, France's first game, and Senegal ends up scoring. They were up 2-0. Senegal ends up scoring a goal. Mbappe turns and looks at the crowd, and in the most confident way possible, just says, "Hey, guys."
Gives them the Steph Curry, calm down.
I got this.
Calm down.
And in the next 60 seconds, he takes that ball from midfield, and Cody's going to run this because I want your live reaction to this. Yeah, go ahead and play it.
All right.
He dribbles right past, and watch this.
Oh, he's got space. Got space.
He's easily 30 yards, 40 yards away, and with a lightning strike.
That's a cannon.
Yes, it is.
That's a rocket ship.
Yes, it is. That is confidence.
Woo! Yeah, man. He knew, like, the second he turned and saw that much space, he was like, you messed up.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to give a quick recap of where we left off in our last episode about confidence.
Okay.
And that way we can have everyone join us on this journey. This is part 2, but this is can be its own standalone version of confidence. We talked about 2 main things in our last episode. First, I'm going to read the definition of confidence that we had and that we talked about.
Yeah, it was a good definition.
Confidence isn't earned trust in your ability to control reality. It's earned trust in your ability to face it.
Facts.
And facing that reality is sometimes difficult, sometimes annoying, and requires you to, even if I can borrow an American phrase, pull yourself up from your own bootstraps. And so we're going to talk through 4 elements of confidence that we definitely highlighted in our last go round. The 4 aspects of competence were competency, integrity, resiliency, and self-awareness.
Do you want to quickly, or maybe even Cody could, do you want to quickly recap the idea that we built last episode of the kind of trust bank?
Yeah. So we talked about trust as a bank where you deposit information, skills, ability, and then you as an individual have the ability to withdraw that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to talk about today ways that you can make those deposits and a way that you can withdraw some of those deposits and how that's going to affect your confidence meter.
Mm-hmm. Cody, because that kind of resonated with you a lot.
Yeah, I liked it because you guys talked a lot about in terms of relationships too. Confidence in a relationship or with a person is also like the same trust bank. Trust and confidence are very closely intertwined. So you can also, I think, Brett, I like the term, you can make a withdrawal sometimes. You could kind of pressure test a relationship
I'm seeing a new shirt.
Yeah, pressure tested.
Pressure tested.
But yeah, you sometimes you have to, maybe you have some competencies, but you don't have a lot of opportunities to test them under the fire, right? Like maybe I remember this story I heard of a guy that moved to Australia and he thought he was confident enough to just move there and work on a kangaroo ranch and didn't know anything. And they just said he was useless all the time because he couldn't do anything. And one of the things he thought he could do was change a tire. And he was struggling because it was out in the middle of the night in the ranch somewhere. Yeah. And he said, well, I have the competence to do this in a driveway in the daytime in America. You know what I mean? Yeah. So sometimes you have an ability, but you got to put a call on that bank and withdraw and see, where you're at, how much your balance is in there.
That's a really interesting point, and I'm so happy you made it because it does bring up one of the tone-setting topics for this episode, which is what is the purpose? Why do we even need this thing, confidence? And we were talking before. One of the things that I think you learn with growing up and maturing is the difference between real confidence and then just bravado.
I love that.
Yeah, and a young man's game is bravado. We've talked about this before. It's that I know, yeah, I can do that. Sure, yeah, that'll be fine.
Oh yeah, my kids know every answer to every question.
100%. Yeah, it's not confidence. It's just sheer willing it to be okay, and it's not always going to be okay. And that's the beauty of life is that hopefully when you're young and the stakes are low, you get all of these situations where you sort of fail quickly and fail safely.
Yeah,
and each one of those times that you do fail, it hopefully forces you to kind of re-examine what went wrong.
Yeah.
And often what went wrong is you jumped into a situation you weren't prepared for. And kind of that leads us into that kind of competency building thing.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So if you're new to Good Men Trying, we like to talk about these topics across the ecosystem. So as the individual, as the self, as a parent or a family individual, how that may affect your corporate view, and as a friend. And so why does confidence matter to your point as an individual? Because if you're not confident, you shapeshift when you walk into a room. You get molded to whoever that room requires you to be.
Yeah, or whoever the strongest personality in the room is.
You're correct. And we've talked about this before, but recently I've started a journey to really be in self-alignment, which is living in that purpose the way that I see the world, not the way that others have invested in me.
Ooh, that's hard work.
It is. It is.
Uncomfortable.
And that's every time you do that, that's making a deposit to that trust bank and building up some of those competencies, which we're going to define here in a moment how we really get there.
And I do think every time you encounter a roadblock or a challenge, and the loudest person in the room offers up some course of action that's maybe not the most thoughtful course of action, and then you kind of quietly consider, and then you proceed in whatever way that you are confident that you could tackle that challenge. I think every time you pull that thing off, other people have more confidence in you too.
Yeah.
It's one, it reaffirms the confidence. But two, everyone in your ecosystem, all your friends, your family, they start to see that, this other guy convinced us all to do this one thing, but Marlon had that idea and he just kind of did it himself. And then that really worked out. maybe we should be asking Marlon what's going on here, or paying more attention to what he's doing, how he's moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think talking about relationships and reviewing this as, let's say, romantic relationships, someone who's not confident in a romantic relationship ultimately does not really have assurance that they are safe or that they are loved. And that can lead to
a lot of problems.
A lot of problems. It could lead to, in a very practical sense, hey, let me see who you're texting.
Oh yeah.
In a very
Do you really need to go to that dinner?
Right. Are you really going on a boys trip?
Who went?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let me check your location. And a part of that is that the bank that you've invested in, your withdrawals are bouncing because the funds aren't there that you've deposited because they've all been withdrawn.
So this makes me think of something. Kate goes on a lot of work trips. Kate's in a leadership role and has to travel a little bit for kind of meeting up with her teams in various places. When she goes to these dinners, a lot of her coworkers are female. They do like she'll travel in and they'll do a long day of meetings and then they all go out to dinner together, team building. She tells me all the time, like a lot of people have a lot to say about how hard it is to be away from their house because their husbands don't know the name of the coach, don't know how to cook a meal, don't know where the clothes are in the closet, don't know the doctor's name or where the insurance information is.
Yeah.
And, it's a bit of team building and bonding just for them to be complaining about their husbands. And then, thankfully, I know all that stuff. I can totally fend for myself for, a week. I might, I might be feeling it after that if we're being real. But that builds confidence with her in me. And hearing that report back builds more confidence in myself, which then encourages me to continue to invest in understanding kind of everything that's going on in my life and how to contribute to all of those things.
Yeah.
So that whole sense of confidence in your partner, like it really can build something super special that allows you to get through maybe the hardest times when life's throwing some curveballs at you. But you have confidence that your partner is going to make a good choice at least.
Yeah. And on my side, my wife is fully capable. However, I like to leave the house with meals in the fridge and everything taken care of because we have triplets. It's a lot of work to just maintain life and take care when your partner's gone. So men should do better.
Can do better.
And can do better. and they should have the confidence to believe in themselves that they can take on that responsibility, particularly as Father's Day is right around the corner, which is a great segue to how, as a father, you are able to develop an environment of confidence.
Yeah.
Because if you are absent or if you're not curious, and there was a great study on this that said that parents that play rough with their kids have a better, longer relationships, and their kids are more able to do difficult things because they've gone through that series of events. So men can create an environment where confidence actually grows.
Yeah, no, I remember this from so I've got a boy, which has got to be at least somewhat different.
Very
somewhat different. And when Alex was young, maybe 4 or 5, that's when the wrestling nonstop kicked in, right? And he wanted to tackle me, drag me down, anything he could to try to beat me up. He just wanted to beat me up. He still wants to beat me up. I mean, I catch strays all the time, just right in the stomach and the sternum. Now he knows where it hurts, But what he loved was for us to be wrestling, me to pin him down or whatever. Like, I'm big, I'm stronger than he is. But then after that, he wanted to know, well, how do I get out of that?
Yeah.
Or you're so much bigger than me. Like, what's the one thing I could do to take you down at this size?
Yeah.
And then we'd work on that. So he learned how to like drag my leg, or if he got me up under the knee, he knew that he should push into my hips.
Okay, jujitsu.
Yeah. But I say all that to say those skills truly translate.
Yeah.
And, him falling down and us not rushing over and picking him up, or him wanting something. And us, truly, it stems from mine and Kate's laziness. We're like, figure it out. If you can't figure it out, come back to me, but you better put an effort in, or I'm not doing it,
Yeah.
And now my son is a very resilient kid. And I don't know if I know you have done a lot of the same things.
Well, so the girls played in a boys 9-year-old and over basketball tournament 2 weeks ago. 2 of them had never played basketball before.
Oh boy.
But I'd been telling them for the better part of a year that they come from a line of legends, a bloodline to be coveted.
Superheroes.
Now, half of it's true because there are
a bloodline to be coveted. There's another T-shirt.
And I had to really convince, listen, this is the difference between girls and boys. My girls play this little game where they're a little wolf and they go and they can like go around Animal Land and they can eat. They want gems that the app has asked them for. So I told them, if you play in this game, I'll give you $5 worth of gems for you to buy whatever outfit on your little game that you play. Not only did they play, one of my daughters caught an elbow to the eye. Didn't cry, didn't come out the game, just she saw me there on the other side, on the sideline cheering her on, and continued to play through. And I was so proud of her. And one of the things I always say after a sporting event is, I'm proud that you tried. I'm proud that you gave your
Praise
effort,
the
right?
effort. Yeah.
Praise the effort. And so that environment of confidence is really what I'm trying to develop. One, because they're females. I know that's going to come up sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And I see that often. I was telling somebody this week that before I leave the house, I have to approve 4 outfits. I have to approve the 3 kids' outfits. Poppy, does it look good? Does this match? And then my wife will text me, hey, do you like how, does this look good for me in the gym? Is there a role here? Is there whatever? So instilling and being able to support people in their own confidence is a part of the journey that you as a friend, you as a father, you as a son, if you're trying to encourage a parent, and yourself have to kind of go through. And there's not a better example that I can think of than Odysseus.
Odysseus.
The
historical Odysseus.
Do you know the story of Odysseus?
Oh, yeah.
King who ended up defeating Troy with the Trojan horse,
Mm-hmm.
and then has to go through a 10-year escapade to get back home.
Because he did not make the gods happy.
He did not make the gods happy.
Yeah, or certain gods.
Or whichever of the ones that you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And his journey back home really starts off and really anchors our idea of competency. And you're sharing a quote that you had found from Odysseus around how he developed his competency. There were 2 aspects to that.
Yeah. Hold on, let me pull it up.
Okay, he's going to pull it up.
Yeah.
By the way, this is our first time drinking on the show, and I love a little Friday night wine.
A little glass of wine.
Hey.
Yeah, let's go. Hold on, wait. We should just a little.
Should we cheers? After I took a drink?
Yeah, let's go.
We need to get sponsored by wine.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely.
So if you're out there.
So a couple of things to note on Odysseus. This was fun. One, Odysseus has confidence in his own abilities.
Yes.
Demonstrated in the way he repeatedly trusts his intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
his adaptability, so intelligence, competencies, adaptabilities is resilience.
Yeah.
And endurance even when the odds are terrible. He often introduces himself as a man known to the world for every kind of craft, emphasizing his competence rather than just bravado.
Mm.
So clearly defining himself as a person who is able, capable of doing many, many, many things. And his confidence stems from the fact that he has a demonstrated history of being able to perform certain tasks. And that way he can look at a new challenge, break it down into those tasks or what is needed and kind of relate that to himself.
Yeah.
Like he can look at the menu of items that are needed to complete this task and go, okay, well, I have 7 out of 8 of those.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty confident in myself that I could get that done.
Mm-hmm.
Odysseus is rarely reckless. He disguises himself, gathers information, and waits for the right moment. His confidence comes from preparation and strategy, not from assuming everything will work out.
There it is.
Yeah, his confidence comes from preparation and strategy, not from assuming everything will work out.
So if you are not a confident person, or perhaps you're on the other side and you happen to have an overwhelming, overflowing abundance of confidence, would it be safe to say that you have prepared, and that preparation could be skills? It could be reading. It could be doing what you're doing now, listening. It could be engaging in conversation to prepare you for what's to come. And then it's that strategic thinking or that critical thought. That's where you're planning out, how does this affect me? What am I reading or listening to can I apply to my own life?
Where do I want to be?
Yeah.
And then you're reverse engineering that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I want to be here. Well, what skills do I need to be there? What experiences do I need to have to be there? And then you're kind of mapping that out in advance. And so you're not moving through life kind of reacting.
Yeah.
You're moving through life in a much more planned way, which I think just allows you to feel more confident, more in control.
Which allows you then, if we talk about the trust bank, is to develop skills that you can deposit in that safety deposit box, if you will. And they don't even have to be the exact skill. It could be complementary. It could be parallel. It could be something else. It could be a relationship that ended, but you learned some valuable traits on how to be. It could be a physical labor that you learned how to plant a tree or make sourdough bread. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Frame a house.
Frame a house. And it is under that you say, hey, if I have the ability to do this small thing, then I might just have the confidence to do a bigger thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking not too long ago about, you're an athletic guy. You train a lot every day. You track yourself. You track metrics. So if someone was like, Marlon, can you play this sport with me? Your answer would be pretty positive.
Yes.
Either yes or no. Yeah. Like, what does the sport require of me? Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got that confidence, which may feel like bravado to someone who doesn't know you, but it's not, because you spend every day honing certain skills. And those skills translate in a certain way to whatever the task is. And you can perform those skills because you do it all the time.
Yeah. I'm up early at 4:30 at the gym. I run, I lift, and I'll give you a perfect example. We were in a class and we were going to set a new PR for the class. We were deadlifting. Now, in my old age, my lower back sometimes gives me problems. So deadlifting over 315 is purely ego at this point.
Okay. Not functional.
It will actually take away from my workouts because it's going to cause me more time to get better.
Sure.
Currently
Evan's shaking his head, yes. He's been there.
Currently working on that. But if I were out in the field and I knew that something was going to be heavy, I could have the confidence to pick up that boulder myself. But the difference is I also understand science and fulcrums and how to place a wedge under and lift it so I don't have to strain.
Right.
So that I can do the next activity after that. And I think that's a difference in, even if I just think about myself from when I was 20 years younger to where I am now.
That's that strategy coming into play.
Strategy coming into play.
Yeah.
And so you think not about doing it just based off of brute force, but based off of your mind, which is why I think Odysseus is a good example, because he's got 10 years and he has to use his mind over his muscle. And that, I think, at least for our audience, may be a defining factor for many men where they still try to muscle their way through life. I'm going to white knuckle it. Yeah, I'm going to force my way through this relationship, even though
this job,
this job, all those things. And if you just stop for a moment, you'll realize that you're actually withdrawing information out of your trust bank, and you're not redepositing that. So, and I think that's something that for us to think about.
Yeah,
I have an alarm at 4:29 actually every morning, and it's the David Goggins alarm. It says, "Who's going to move the boats?" I wake up and I think Marlon's got it, and then I go back to sleep.
You go back to sleep
for another 4 hours.
Exactly. I'm sitting here thinking, I I've always had, and Cody knows this, I've always had charisma.
Mm-hmm.
I never had trouble making friends. I could always make people laugh, reasonably athletic.
He's being Maz. He was a player. He was a pimp. He was a basketball god at a very small school of non-talented people.
That's not true at all. Not even close. Not even close.
But you were definitely like
I was talented,
doing well.
Yeah, but so much of it, especially early on, was just sheer bravado.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this because, later in life, I got in a hole and had to dig my way out of it, and it was lonely, and there weren't a lot of people there supporting me. And I had to spend a lot of time figuring out how I got there, because I needed to figure out how to get out and what did I need to change. When I started doing that, it's amazing because it was almost immediate. My life before felt really out of control. Like I was taking it as it came. Whatever happened, and I was just reacting to it, which it's like gambling. You're slowly going to lose to the house, in that way of thinking. Once I started paying attention to what I was doing, and once I started more so looking at myself and what deficiencies I had, and then trying to actively correct those deficiencies, two things happened. One, holy shit, my life started working out. But two, I started stacking up those little wins, and those little wins have such inertia. Like you can really gain a ton of confidence off those little wins, and those little wins push you then to the next competency that you need. Well, I already did these other three things, and I know I need to learn this one thing. If I learn this next thing, it's going to get me to the next place, and that can really stack and build on itself. And I kind of was able to, through the grace of good luck and my family and friends and their support, dig myself out of this hole, and along that way developed real confidence. And the real confidence that I have now truly translates into understanding yes or no in really quickly. Like if someone presents me with a prospect, like, hey, can you do this? I really do have a yes or no answer pretty quickly. And it's not going to hurt my feelings if I have to say no. It doesn't hurt my ego. I know what I'm capable of, and I know what I can do, and I know what I can do because I spent so much time trying to figure that shit out.
You see it with a lot of people who've beat drugs or cancer or some type of like big challenge. They dug themselves out of a hole at some point. I mean, it's important in your story, Brad, that was a hole you made. Like you're not blaming someone. Something didn't happen to you.
100% put myself in it, following
I think
people with stronger personalities and letting other people dictate what would be cool if I did it or what I should do. Yeah.
To be clear, Brett didn't go to jail.
No. And he didn't do drugs and he didn't have a life-threatening disease.
Yes. Thank you.
But what I loved about the story, and I appreciate your vulnerability, is you were self-aware enough to know that you needed to do things differently.
Well, yeah, you have to be an idiot not to be self-aware enough to know. Well, pretty rock bottom.
Well, there are those who are not self-aware.
No, you're right. You're right.
That
100%.
that continue on in the same path, and it requires them to make a U-turn, and they just refuse, and they suffer a lot more heartache than necessary because of that. And self-awareness is a part of this confident quad that we're talking about. And
what is the quad?
So we talked about competency, we're self-awareness, resiliency, and integrity. And so under self-awareness, I want to hearken you back to...
I love the way you said that. Harken back.
To, I believe it was 2022 when Naomi Osaka, who was going to play in the U.S. Open.
When she withdrew?
When she withdrew for mental health challenges. One, the courage to recognize that athletically and mentally you're not in a place to compete is understated.
Right.
It particularly under the guise of a World Cup, where we're kind of living under right now. Every athlete, this is their dream, to play on that stage, or an Olympian to play on that stage. You're meeting the highest level of competition, and you acknowledge to yourself, I'm not actually ready to play, and you self-withdraw, that's a big deal.
Dude, I hear you, and I raise you Simone Biles.
Tell me the story, because I know there's a documentary on it.
So, and I may get this wrong, so don't at me. I think that she realized she had the yips, the problem, the imbalance problem, and tried to push through,
Mm-hmm.
and had to withdraw literally when it was just too unsafe.
Yeah.
Kind of she herself. I think the team kind of decided it was unsafe for her before she did, and she had to kind of pull the trigger. So then that was a big deal, and a lot of people had a lot to say about it, and there was a lot of criticism,
Mm-hmm.
and she had to deal with that because it was the Olympics.
Yeah.
4 years.
4 years.
She had to deal with that. So she did a lot, and talk about resilience. She knew what she wanted. She dealt with the grief for a while, but then
Mhm.
once she decided she wanted to come back, she just went to work. And the work wasn't purely physical. She had to go through a lot of therapy
Mm-hmm.
and figure out what was going on, like what was the trauma from her past, what was the pressure, how is she dealing with that, what mechanisms could she put in place. But she did like every grinding step of that work, dude. And then she came back, put the US on her shoulders, and just took us to victory, dude. Like I cried
Yeah.
when that happened, dude. I was so proud of her.
Well, it's a great analogy for many of our listeners, which is this. In either example, both Naomi and Simone, you had one saying, I'm not where I need to be, and the other eventually getting there, but the community, the environment said, hey, I think you need to probably step back.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the fan club that was watching adamantly disagreed. And both had to suffer a significant amount of time before they could prove to their naysayers that this indeed was the right choice to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so to that I say, particularly if you're listening and you're kind of struggling with the confidence environment, being authentic to yourself.
Yeah.
Which going into the innermost and sitting with those thoughts and saying, am I really a good husband? Am I really a good friend? Am I really good to myself?
Right.
Right. That's where the work starts.
Am I who I really want to be?
Am I who I want to be? Am I where I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I want to go?
Mm-hmm.
This is the foundation that allows you to then build something that is authentically confident.
Right.
And so we've talked now about self-awareness and resilience
Mm-hmm.
in the fact that now Simone Biles ended up winning that medal. But it took time. And I don't want to skip over the fact that sometimes, or many times, when you set about to change the foundation of who you are, that will take time.
Yeah. Evan, I don't know if you want to tell the story, but you had a pretty traumatic life event that sort of changed the course of your life. And since I've known you, you've been motivated to overcome that. And I've never met a version of you that was like wallowing in anything. I've always known a version of you that was sort of cheerfully going about the work of overcoming the thing. I don't know if you want to talk about it at all, but if you do.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. I've had a few injuries. I have a couple of spinal injuries and a shoulder injury. But reality, I just didn't have a choice getting through it. I remember crying in the doctor's office when he said it was permanent, and that I would need surgeries where I would have my discs replaced with mechanical discs, and that was a hard conversation. But I guess it took confidence in knowing I could get there. I could get to the end goal. I could keep exercising, and a lot of it was just to make sure I didn't get too depressed about everything. But a lot of it really boiled down to just having a wife who was super supportive. You mentioned the Odyssey, and I have a great quote, but though I'm paraphrasing because I'm really terrible at remembering these types of things. But it goes along the lines of something like, there's nothing more admirable than two people who are living together, who see eye to eye, and that make their enemies quiver and their friends delight.
Oh, I love that. Enemies quiver and your friends delight.
It definitely helps to be married to someone who makes your enemies quiver.
Dude, she does make your enemies quiver. That is for damn sure. Bro. Terrifying in the best ways.
It sounds like she is your Penelope,
Yeah, she is. Yes.
which in the story of Odysseus, she had to wait those 10 years, confidence in her husband, to come back and return to her.
With a stiff arm out.
With a very, because I'm sure the Greeks made her hot.
They were trying it.
Oh, I could only imagine.
Yeah.
But Evan, it sounds like integrity is one of the pillars that you live by, and it's one of the four quads that we talk about here with confidence. And Marcus Aurelius said this, which is, I actually think this sums up your experience really well. He says, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look."
Ooh, that's a great quote.
Marcus Aurelius, a commander, an emperor, a scholar. He used to write meditations, as a matter of fact, and some say is the father of Stoicism. And I like this because we have a theme over this series of episodes that we've released so far, which is inward before outward.
Right. Yeah. Look inward before you worry about what anyone else is doing. Have a strong foundation in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we could get a percentage of people to take that seriously, I do think, and this may be grandiose of me, but I do think we can see real change.
Yeah, I agree. Anytime you go to therapy, not to bring it there, but anytime you go to therapy, the entire point is to refine yourself.
Yeah.
And then meditation, which is, inarguably very healthy as a practice, is entirely about paying attention to your thoughts. And all of these things form a theme of we have to pay attention to ourselves in order to improve kind of our actions in life. And if you're able and willing to spend that time understanding yourself, then not only will you move through the world more confidently, but you also then, I think, in my opinion, be able to understand others better.
Yeah.
Which is a superpower.
It is. This may feel like a hard pivot, but I promise you it's not.
Okay.
Have you heard the phrase iron sharpens iron?
Yeah.
I can't stand that.
No?
No, because iron does not sharpen iron.
Oh, okay.
As a matter of fact, iron will dull, chip, and maybe not break other iron, but
Okay.
it's definitely not sharpening.
What does sharpen iron?
A wet sandstone.
Okay. That's a little bit longer of a phrase.
It is a little bit longer of a phrase, but where I think the analogy is that as men particularly, we think that if we just clash against each other, we're going to get stronger.
Sure.
If we can just white knuckle it, lift up the heavy weight, and do all the things that masculinity, at least in today's time, is indicative of, then all of a sudden we will become better, which is categorically 1,000% false. It requires small, skillful, diligent refinement, which is not battling with somebody else.
Yeah.
It's more specifically really refining on the inside, which I think is a really fine and appropriate kind of culmination to where confidence can take you.
Yeah, like if you're, I mean, to put it in guy terms, if you're going to go to war, they don't just grab up a bunch of dudes, ship them out. They grab up a bunch of dudes, train the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And then ship them out.
Yeah.
If you're going to go play basketball and you want to be good, you don't just show up without ever dribbling a basketball.
Nope.
You do a lot of work, dribbling basketball, shooting layups, form shooting, all the things you got to do to go play well. It's the same thing in life. I don't know why it doesn't apply to our relationships.
Yeah.
Why is it the only thing in the world that we don't practice?
If you think you are going to be a better individual, human, husband, father, son, coworker, and not put in the work, you would be highly mistaken.
Yeah, dude, at work, you're like, what do I need to do to get the next promotion?
You get reviewed so many times.
And you read and you do all these things to make sure that you've got the skills. And then, how do I become a better softball player in my softball league? And I go to the batting cage. I spend hours doing all this stuff, right? And like, it's the only thing it seems like that we don't put all that effort into is our relationships.
Yeah, and
It's
ourselves.
strange.
It's quite odd.
Yeah.
My dad. Okay, we're gonna take a little bit of a religious bent, but we're wrapping it up.
Cody, will you play the hymn? Okay.
So my dad, for a very long time, would see this neighbor up the street, and he would ask. This is my father. By the way, my father just turned 88 years old, and he's still doing pull-ups. Huge shout out on Sunday.
Let's go, Pops.
So I run into this guy who used to do Bible study with my dad yesterday as I'm cutting the grass. And I was not engaged, or at least ready to be engaged in conversation. But I listened. He was telling me about how his daughter and his son both graduated college. He paid for their college. He paid for their cars. He paid for their apartments. And
These are lucky people.
very lucky people. And all he's wanting is for them to go to church with him. And I said, do you know them like today? Like, do you know what they like, what they don't like? He was like, I don't know, but my daughter loved swimming 7 years ago, and I keep asking her to go swimming with me. She doesn't want to go swimming. And my son loves soccer, and we're in the middle of the World Cup, and he doesn't want to watch soccer with me. They don't think I'm cool enough.
Mm.
And I spent the next hour talking to him, and I said, I don't think you know your children, respectfully.
Right.
I don't think you know the version of them that they have grown into 4
Right.
years after college,
Yeah.
that they are becoming. And more specifically, I don't think you really care to know them as them. I think you want them to be just a grown-up version.
7 years is a long time.
Yes.
I mean, that's the difference between 14 and 21.
Yes. And every time I tell people that I have triplets and that I have girls, they always say the same thing. Oh, when they turn 13, they're going to give you hell. Maybe.
I didn't say that for the record.
I know you. Thank you. It might be true, but here's one thing that I do know.
Because I think they're already giving you hell,
Well,
as anyone with kids knows.
Yes, they're giving my bank account all it can handle. Okay, that is 100%. But I have the confidence to know that as a parent, I will never stop learning.
Right.
I will never stop asking questions, and I will never stop trying to get them to be in a relationship with me. Those are the three commitments that I am 1,000% positive of. I don't care what biological infrastructure changes in them. I'm not changing. And so the confidence that I have in who I am, in my relationship, and in my skill set is giving me all the energy that I need to show up better. And to your point, to know when to change, when to pull back, and to ask myself those hard questions.
Kate and I have this thing we talk about all the time. Well, first of all, I need to go back. Your dad's still doing pull-ups?
Pull-ups.
At
88.
88?
And not
almost 90?
And not even on a pull-up bar. He hung a S-hook from the ceiling and then just took like a pipe. So it's on chain and a pipe, and so he's got to pull up and swing.
That's so badass.
You know what? I should post the video because it's crazy.
So badass.
Yeah.
Shout out, Pops. That's badass. Kate and I often. Thank you, Cody. One more time. One more time for Pops.
K. Dot.
Thank you. I think something Kate and I always talk about, to the point that if we like renewed our vows, it would be a vow, is we have promised to each other that we will never stop learning.
Yeah.
That we will never become, I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, and no shade. I do see a lot of times when people get older, they get comfortable with their worldview and they stop taking on new information. They've decided they're right.
Yeah.
And they're stuck in a time period.
They're not curious anymore.
Because what is right is actually relative to the time and the situation and the environment you're in. And that will change, little by little over time. And what was right 50 years ago, 100 years ago is certainly not what's right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can see that little microcosm with where, people get older and they start being at war with the world as it is.
Mm.
And I think a lot of that stems from that, what you're talking about. They've stopped taking in new information and they've become this kind of very rigid version of themselves that is decided.
Mm.
And once that happens, I do think, to bring it back to confidence, I think you start to lose confidence in your position,
Mm-hmm.
in your abilities. And I think that a lot of the kind of panic and a lot of the kind of fear that you see in people is a reaction of that, is a consequence of that.
Yeah, I resonate with that completely. And as a matter of fact, I think if you are just starting off life or you had to restart life, i.e. a divorce, or you just graduated college, you're trying to find your first big time job, that of being curious, of learning, of going through and developing those inward skills and that confidence is something that you can always restart.
And being humble enough, if you're doing well, to realize that there's no version of you that is the right version of you. You should always continue to refine yourself. You'll never learn everything there is to learn. And then also being forgiving enough of yourself if you've made mistakes and you've found yourself in a situation you don't want to be in. You are the version of you are now.
Yes.
And that is not the version of you have to be tomorrow. You can continue to learn and skill and reskill. As long as you're willing to put in that work, you can always be a better version of yourself tomorrow. You can always show up better.
Because confidence is an earned trust in your ability to face reality, not control it, just to face it.
Ooh, full circle moment.
Oh, cue my music. Unless Cody's got something to say.
Yeah, I had a couple of things for you guys. Brett brought up a point with his kids and inspiring confidence in him. And you guys were talking about just like, I think Marlon made a point that having confidence in doing things for yourself can also inspire others. They kind of latch on to that and it helps bring them up as like a team. So I thought that was really cool because so far a lot of the lens has been like, how do you improve your life and how do you, pull yourself out of a hole and all those things. But it's also about like, well, what are you doing it for? And maybe you're doing it for others. You're going to help other people. You're going to build a safe place and to have a family, or for your friends, or even if you're not somebody who wants a family. I saw this. It's a very famous, like, going around Steve Jobs lecture where I think he's after his first stint at Apple before he went back, and the students are asking him, like, what did you learn at Apple? And he takes like 20 seconds. He like sits and he's like, that's a really good question. Like, with the best thing he learned. And he said, I now take a longer term view on people and I allow them to grow and I build their confidence in themselves and my team, because I'm trying to build a company that's going to go somewhere for a long time. And if I can fix things and I could do things, but will be good for a year, and
that was the point I was going to make too when I was listening to you is the most confident people I know hand out confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They try to build it in other people because they don't need, it's the people who aren't confident in themselves that are takers.
And we could
that
probably
will put other people down.
We could probably do a whole episode, and I know Chappelle did one on the how to inspire, but like I think that ties so well into this is like, even if you do kind of have to fake it till you make it, it doesn't have to be bravado. You can be doing it. You can be willing to fail and work your way to success. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned it also in your story, in your personal story, about the little failures you had. Then you started piling up little successes. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, I failed. Now I'm starting to get little wins, still failing at other things. But then the wins start winning more than the failures.
Yeah.
And then it just became a net positive, and now you're, successful. Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who are struggling or have lost their way or using other people as their guideposts for what they should do in their lives, it's helpful to hear that, like, hey, you can hit rock bottom and still come out completely changed and find and rebuild. Yeah. And have a life that, like, whatever your view on that is.
Marlon has his hand raised.
Oh, I could see it. Yeah,
well, I want to share this very authentic view because I don't want people to think that we just pontificate without actually applying these practices. So earlier this week, we had a team meeting. at our favorite spot. Shout out Seegers and Sons.
That's
Seeger
right.
and Sons, yeah, the boardwalk.
And
Not a sponsor. Yes.
not a sponsor.
Yes. Yes.
We're accepting sponsors.
Yeah.
One of the sponsors is our clothing brand called Heat and Match.
Yep, heat and match.
And
Represent.
I was actually down, to be honest. And I called you, Brett, and I called Cody, and I called Evan, and I think you could hear. We've not talked about this. I think you could hear the terror in my voice. Yeah, okay, thank you.
I wouldn't have called it that.
Well,
I would say urgency.
urgency.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And we had some ideas, and so we met up, and I want everyone to be aware that when we did the friendship episode, I think from then till now, I have learned more about friendship with you guys than I probably have in the last 5 to 10 years, and that's real.
Thank you, buddy.
Because you called the meeting, you heard the urgency, you called the meeting, we started talking, and we worked things through. Came up with the plan. Evan was there. Everybody was there. And after that, I think I left more confident to do the things that I needed to do to help take things forward.
Yeah.
And so this week, we can definitively say that I was unconfident. I reached out to a friend. In the community of friends, you guys helped bring that confidence from the gutter where it was to the sky where it was when we left. And that required planning,
Strategy.
strategy. It also focused on the integrity of all of us to try to keep everything together, resiliency, and self-awareness to know that I couldn't do this on my own and that I needed your buy-in.
And also, somewhat what we did was lay out our competencies.
Yeah.
What can we accomplish?
What could we
What is
accomplish?
reasonable for us to
Yes.
accomplish?
And it was in that strategy that I walked away feeling like, man, I can do this. And we're months away from it being done. But the point being is that it doesn't take much time, really. An hour for us to meet together. I probably spent 30 minutes talking to you. I think I probably spent 30 minutes talking to Cody. And so 2 hours in general took me from a very erratic place to, yeah, I think we got this. So I think the ecosystem is real. It works. And my challenge to everyone out there is to try it, because you never know the value that you could have in the community around you until you are vulnerable enough to try it.
The other note I had from something Marlon said stuck with me. And this is maybe more relatable to people who are like working professionals. Maybe you've worked your way up to middle management or something, and you've lost touch with some abilities. You haven't upskilled in a while. You can lose confidence really quickly, and it doesn't take long, to your point, to just go right back and try to like put that effort in, get back in touch with whatever it is you feel like you've lost touch with. I find that all the time because I work in technology. So if I don't do a task and I've kind of gotten into one mode, all of a sudden I feel like I'm out. I can't speak quickly and solve the problem like I used to. And then my confidence erodes because I didn't put in that bank, and so then I got to go, okay, well, let me go back. And even though I have people working for me, I'll have them train me sometimes on something that I've been out of touch on. And that's okay to do. You don't let your ego get in the way of being competent.
Yeah.
And upskill and stay with it, and that kind of, I don't know. That was something Marlon said that made me think about that. And I was like,
Yeah, everyone wants to know everything, but they don't want to put in the work to know everything.
we all want the Matrix where you could just download Kung Fu. Yeah. That's
But
true.
I like your point, Cody, and I like the perspective. And you guys are movie guys, so you may remember the movie Vantage Point.
I don't remember what happens in it at all.
I don't remember what happened. I just remember that they filmed it from the same 10 minutes from just 4 or 5 different perspectives.
Yeah, those are good.
And it changed everything. And that skill set of maybe you don't have it right. I struggle with even when I am coaching my basketball team, because sometimes I think my instructions are clear, but they're not doing what I asked them to do.
And a lot of that's why I loved you started with self-awareness.
Yeah.
And that requires being able to see other perspectives, seeing how you relate in your environment, and then you can build from there. You can't really, confidence fails if you don't have that first piece.
Right. You have to put in the work to even understand that what you're seeing is your perspective.
Right.
You have to name it. This is my perspective. Because once you name my perspective, you can name, or you can consider that there are other perspectives.
Right. Because the perspective
it's not the perspective
is very different.
Yeah. Roll my music.
We ain't here for the postures or the mask we wear, not the highlight reels or the half-truth share. We talk repairs, staying when it's easier to run, showing up for the work when the honeymoon's done. Fathers, partners, friends, learning how to be, listening more than we speak, choosing honesty. No gurus, no crowns, just truth in the trying. We ain't lying, this is good man trying.